Ambassador Cathara stood before the massive viewing screen in the Galactic Council chambers. Her blue skin shimmered under the artificial lights as she watched the new members take their seats. Today was orientation day for the newest species to join the council. The room filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had tentacles, others had multiple eyes, and a few looked almost like walking trees. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," Cathara said, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. "You are here because your species has reached the stars. You have proven you can travel between worlds and make contact with other life forms, but space is dangerous. There are rules you must learn if you want to survive." A young representative from the Milari system raised one of his 4 arms. His people looked like giant insects with silver wings. "What kind of rules?" he asked. Cathara smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "The most important rule is simple. Never ever attack human children." "Not one, not even by accident." Confused murmurs filled the room. The new members looked at each other with puzzled expressions. A delegate from the Vorthan Republic spoke up. Her people were tall and thin with gray skin. "Humans are just one species among thousands. Why should we fear them?" "Because," Cathara said slowly, "humans are not like other species. They seem peaceful most of the time. They trade with us, they share technology, they even help us solve problems between different worlds. But harm their young ones and they become something else entirely." She pressed a button on her control panel. The viewing screen lit up with images of human colonies. The pictures showed beautiful cities with gardens and parks. Human families walked together on clean streets. Children played in open spaces while their parents watched and smiled. "Look at them," Cathara continued. "They seem so normal, so harmless. Many of you probably think humans are weak because they care so much about their offspring. Other species abandon their young or let them fight to become strong. But humans protect their children with everything they have." A new voice spoke from the back of the room. It belonged to Commander Vex of the Thylorian Empire. His people were warriors who conquered worlds for sport. "We have never had problems with humans. They run away when we take their mining operations." "They are cowards." Cathara's eyes narrowed. "You took their mining stations, Commander? But did you harm any of their children?" "Of course not," Vex said with a laugh. "Children are worthless in battle. We left them alone." "That is why you are still alive," Cathara said quietly. The room grew silent. Even the veteran council members who had heard this briefing before paid close attention. They knew what was coming next. Cathara touched her control panel again. The screen changed to show old battle footage. Massive spaceships moved through dark space, their weapons firing streams of deadly energy. But these were not normal military operations. The ships moved with terrible purpose, hunting down their enemies with ruthless efficiency. 300 years ago, the Zelthic Confederation thought humans were easy targets. The Zelthic were powerful. They had conquered dozens of worlds. Their technology was advanced. Their military was strong. They decided to take human colonies in the Epsilon sector. The footage showed Zelthic ships attacking a human settlement. The defenders fought back, but they were outnumbered. The human ships were destroyed one by one. The humans sent messages asking for peace talks. The Zelthic ignored them. The humans offered to share the system. The Zelthic wanted everything. So the human colonists tried to escape. New images appeared on the screen. They showed transport ships fleeing from the planet's surface. Most were full of families trying to reach safety in space. The Zelthic commander made a choice, Cathara said. He decided that some of the escaping humans might come back for revenge later. So he ordered his ships to destroy the transports, all of them. The room watched in horror as the footage showed transport ships exploding in space. Hundreds of them. Thousands of civilians died in moments. 734 human children died that day, Cathara said. The youngest was only 6 months old. The oldest was 17 years. The Zelthic thought they had won a great victory. Commander Vex shifted uncomfortably in his seat. What happened next? Cathara's expression became grim. The humans changed. Every human colony, every human ship, every human world received the news, and something ancient awakened in their species, something that had helped them survive on their home world for millions of years. The screen showed new footage. Human fleets were gathering near their borders. But these were not the same ships that had fled from the Zelphic attacks. These vessels were bigger, faster, and covered with weapons that had never been seen before. We learned later that humans had been hiding their true military strength for decades. Ships that looked like cargo vessels were actually battleships. Colonies that seemed peaceful were fortress worlds. And the humans had been developing weapons. In secret, terrible weapons. The footage showed human fleets moving through space like hunting packs. They did not attack random targets. They moved with cold precision toward Zelphic territory. It took the humans exactly 43 days to find every Zelphic world, every Zelphic ship, and every Zelphic outpost in the galaxy. They did not demand surrender. They did not offer terms. They simply arrived and began destroying everything. The screen displayed the aftermath. Zelphic cities lay in ruins. Their mighty fleets were scattered debris floating in space. Not one Zelphic military installation remained intact. But the humans did not stop there, Cathara continued. They found every Zelphic colony ship that had left their home system. They tracked down every Zelphic trade mission in neutral space. They hunted down every single member of the Zelphic species, no matter where they tried to hide. The room was completely silent now. Even the veteran council members looked uncomfortable. The Zelphic Confederation ceased to exist 97 days after they killed those children. Not just their government or their military, the entire species. The humans made sure that nothing with Zelphic DNA would ever threaten another child again. A small voice spoke up from the front row. It belonged to a representative from the Qurani collective. Her people were peaceful traders who had never been in a war. Did the humans kill all of them? Cathara shook her head. No, they were more efficient than that. The humans destroyed their ability to reproduce. They poisoned their food supplies with chemicals that made them sterile. They released engineered viruses that attacked their genetic code. The last Zelphic died alone on a hospital ship 20 years later. Their species simply faded away. She paused to let that information sink in, then she continued. Since then, every species in the galaxy has learned the same lesson. Humans can be reasoned with. They can be negotiated with. They can even be defeated. In battle, if you are strong enough and careful enough. But if you harm their children, they will erase you from existence. Not defeat you, not conquer you. They will make sure your species never existed. Commander Vex's voice was much quieter. Now, how do we know when we might threaten their young? That is the problem, Cathara said. Humans consider anyone under 18 years old to be a child, but they also protect the children of other species if those children are under human care. They have even attacked alien forces that threatened human schools or hospitals. The humans do not think about politics or strategy when their protective instincts activate. They only think about elimination of threats. Suddenly, alarm bells began ringing throughout the chamber. Red warning lights flashed on the walls. Council members looked around in confusion. As emergency messages appeared on their personal communicators, Cathara's face turned pale as she read the incoming transmission. Her hands shook as she looked up at the assembled delegates. Ladies and gentlemen, she said, in a voice barely above a whisper, we have a problem. The Korvac Empire has just attacked a human colony transport. Initial reports indicate the ship was carrying over 2,000 civilians to a new settlement world. The room erupted in panicked voices. Representatives shouted questions and demands for information. But Cathara held up her hand for silence. The transport was destroyed with all hands. No survivors have been found. She paused, struggling to speak the next words. Preliminary scans confirmed that 90% of the passengers were human children and their families. Commander Vex stood up slowly, his warrior's instincts finally understanding the magnitude of what had just happened. How long do we have? Cathara checked her communicator again. New messages were flooding in from across human space. Emergency. Broadcasts were spreading the news. Human fleets were already beginning to move. The attack happened 6 hours ago, she said. The humans know. Captain Sarah Chun was drinking her morning coffee when the emergency broadcast reached her ship. The UES Retribution was patrolling the neutral zone between human space and the Outer Rim territories. It was supposed to be a quiet assignment. Nothing ever happened in this sector. The communication officer's voice cracked as he spoke. Captain, we're receiving a Priority 1 emergency transmission from Earth Command, all channels. Sarah set down her coffee cup. Priority 1 meant war. She had never heard those words used in a real situation. Put it on the main screen. Admiral Marcus Webb's face appeared on the bridge display. Sarah had met him twice during her career. He was known for being calm under pressure. He solved problems with words instead of weapons. But today his eyes looked different, cold, empty. To all human vessels and colonies, Webb began. At 0600 hours this morning, the Korvek Empire attacked and destroyed the colony transport. New Hope, the ship was carrying 2,047 civilians to the Kepler settlement. Among them were 1,893 children. Sarah felt something twist in her stomach. Around the bridge, her crew members stopped what they were doing. The communication officer turned pale. The weapons specialist gripped his console so hard his knuckles turned white. There were no survivors? Webb continued. Korvek destroyers intercepted the transport 3 light-years from its destination. They ignored surrender signals. They fired on escape pods. They made sure no one lived to tell their story. The screen changed to show wreckage floating in space, pieces of hull, personal belongings scattered among the debris. A child's stuffed animal drifted past the camera, its fur blackened by fire. Sarah's first officer, Commander Torres, spoke quietly. My daughter is 8 years old, Captain. Sarah nodded. She understood. Every human watching this broadcast was thinking the same thing. That could have been their child, their family. Their future. Webb's face returned to the screen. But he looked different now, older, harder. As of this moment, humanity is at war with the Korvek Empire. Not just our military, all of us. Every human ship, every human colony, every human citizen has one mission now. The Korvek Empire will be removed from existence. The transmission ended. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Sarah stared at the blank screen for a long moment. Then she turned to her crew. Navigation, set course for the nearest human naval base. Maximum speed? Captain, Torres said. Our orders were to patrol this sector for another month. Sarah looked at him with eyes that had changed in the last few minutes. Commander, our orders just changed. We're going to war. Across human space, the same scene, played out on thousands of ships. Cargo vessels altered course toward military depots. Passenger liners began evacuating civilian sectors. Mining operations shut down as workers rushed to join militia units. On the human colony of Arcadia, Director James Park watched the broadcast in his office. He had been planning to retire next year. His grandson was starting school soon. Normal. Concerns for a normal life. His assistant burst through the door without knocking. Sir, we're receiving coded transmissions from Earth Command. Military frequencies. Park opened the sealed envelope that had been locked in his safe for 15 years. Every human colony administrator had one. He had hoped never to open it. The instructions inside were simple and terrifying. Activate Protocol 7, he told his assistant. All departments? Immediately. Within an hour, Arcadia began to transform. The mining platforms that harvested metals from the asteroid belt suddenly sprouted weapons arrays. The scientific research stations powered up defensive shields that should not have existed. The civilian transport ships in orbit revealed themselves to be disguised warships. Similar transformations occurred on every human world. The galaxy had seen humans as peaceful explorers and traders for 3 centuries. That had been a carefully maintained illusion. Commander Zara Okafor Received the alert while visiting her parents on Luna. She was supposed to be on vacation. Her ship was docked for maintenance. Her crew was scattered across Earth's solar system on shore leave. The message came through on her personal communicator. A single word followed by coordinates and a timestamp. Retribution. Zara knew what it meant. Every human military officer did. She called her crew immediately. They would understand. Within 6 hours, her ship was space-worthy again. Within 12 hours, they were accelerating toward the rally point at maximum burn. Her ship was not alone. Hundreds of vessels converged on the coordinates. Some were obvious military ships. Others looked like cargo haulers or passenger transports, but Zara knew better. She had served in the fleet long enough to recognize disguised warships. Admiral Webb's flagship, the Normandy, waited at the center of the gathering fleet. As more ships arrived, Zara realized the true scope of human military preparation. There were twice as many vessels as the public record showed. Maybe 3 times as many. A priority transmission came through to all ships. Webb's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. He looked like he had aged 10 years since the morning broadcast. Officers and crew of the Human Defense Force, he began. Today we learn that the galaxy does not understand who we really are. The Korvac Empire believes we are weak because we value life. They think we are soft because we protect our children. They are about to discover their mistake. Webb paused, looking directly into the camera. For 300 years we have maintained peace through strength hidden beneath diplomacy. We have built ships disguised as cargo vessels. We have developed weapons in secret. We have prepared for this day, hoping it would never come. The Admiral's expression hardened, but it has come. And now the galaxy will see what humans become when someone threatens our young. The screen changed to show tactical displays. Korvac territory appeared in red. Their military installations, their colony worlds, their trade routes, everything was marked and categorized. Intelligence estimates indicate the Korvac Empire has approximately 40 million citizens spread across 12 star systems. Their military consists of 800 major vessels and thousands of smaller craft. By conventional standards, they outgun us 3-1. Webb smiled, but there was no humor in it. Conventional standards do not apply to this situation. We are not going to fight the Korvac Empire. We are going to erase it. New information appeared on the tactical displays. Human ships began moving toward Korvac space from multiple directions. But these were not the random movements of an assembling fleet. They moved with precision, with purpose. Like pieces on a chessboard guided by a master player. The Korvac destroyed our children, Webb continued. They killed our future. They have shown the galaxy that they believe human life has no value. We will show them the price of that belief. On the bridge of the Retribution, Sarah watched her navigation officer plot their course toward Korvac territory. The young lieutenant was shaking slightly as he worked. First time heading into combat? Sarah asked. The lieutenant nodded. Yes, Captain, I'm nervous. Sarah put her hand on his shoulder. Good, fear keeps you alive. But remember why we're doing this. Those children on the New Hope had names. They had dreams. They had families who loved them. The Korvac decided none of that mattered. She turned to address her entire bridge crew. We're not fighting for territory or resources or political advantage. We're fighting because someone decided our children were acceptable losses. That ends today. The fleet continued to grow as more ships arrived from across human space. Research. Vessels revealed military-grade weapons. Colony ships deployed fighter squadrons. Even the hospital ships carried offensive capabilities. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the military preparations from her medical ship, the Mercy. She had spent her career saving lives. The idea of war sickened her. But when she thought about the children, on the New Hope, she felt something change inside her. She activated her ship's combat protocols. Like every human vessel, the Mercy had been built with hidden capabilities. Medical ships could become command centers. Hospital facilities could coordinate fleet movements. Even the doctors and nurses had received basic combat training. All medical personnel she announced over the ship's communication system. "Prepare for combat operations. We will save human lives and take Korvac ones in equal measure." Meanwhile, on the Korvac homeworld, Emperor Grashk received reports about human fleet movements. His military advisors assured him the humans were no threat. The Korvac Empire had conquered dozens of worlds. Their technology was proven in battle. Their warriors were fearless. "Let them come," Grashk declared. "We will destroy their fleets. As easily as we destroyed their transport ship. The humans will learn to respect Korvac power." His generals agreed. They had studied human military capabilities for years. The humans had never shown significant offensive power. Their ships were lightly armed, their colonies had minimal defenses. The coming battle would be short and decisive. They were wrong. About everything. Back in human space, Admiral Webb concluded his briefing to the fleet. "We have always told ourselves that we fight to protect what we love. Today we will prove it. The Korvac Empire has 72 hours to exist. After that, we will begin the process of making sure they never existed at all." The first Korvac outpost died without sending a distress signal. Commander Jaketh was reviewing supply reports when his sensor officer simply stopped breathing. Then the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in just long enough for Jaketh to see shapes moving in the corridors. Human shapes. Dressed in black armor that seemed to absorb light, the shapes moved through his station like ghosts, neutralizing every Korvac soldier with surgical precision. No energy weapons fired, no explosions echoed through the halls. The humans used blades and silent projectiles, killing their enemies up close and personal. Jaketh reached for his sidearm, but a human hand clamped over his mouth. The last thing he saw was a pair of cold blue eyes staring at him through a tactical visor. The human whispered something in their alien language before ending his life. Within 6 hours, the entire outpost was empty. The humans had taken everything useful and destroyed the rest. No evidence remained of what had happened except for empty corridors and the lingering smell of death. The scene repeated itself across the border between human and Korvac space. Small outposts, isolated patrol, ships, and communication relays simply vanished. The Korvac High Command received no warnings, no distress calls, no indication that their territory was being invaded. Captain Sarah Chun led the attack on Korvac Station 7, her ship. The Retribution approached the facility with its weapons powered down and stealth systems active. To Korvac sensors, it looked like a damaged cargo vessel requesting emergency assistance. "Station 7 to unknown vessel," came the Korvac transmission. "State your emergency and prepare for inspection." Sarah's communication officer responded with a pre-recorded message in broken Korvac language. It claimed to be a merchant ship with engine problems. The message included forged identification codes that human intelligence had acquired years earlier. The Korvac station commander, General Vorthak, was annoyed but not suspicious. Cargo ships often had mechanical problems in this sector. He ordered his men to prepare a boarding party to inspect the vessel and collect the standard fine for entering Korvac space without proper authorization. "Bring the ship to Docking Bay 3, Vorthak commanded. "Search it thoroughly. If they have anything valuable, confiscate it as payment for their violation." Sarah smiled coldly as she heard the transmission. The Korvac had just invited their own executioners aboard. The Retribution docked smoothly with the station. Korvac soldiers waited in the docking bay, expecting to board a helpless merchant vessel. Instead, the cargo doors opened and human marines poured out. They wore powered armor and carried weapons that had never been seen in the galaxy before. The battle lasted exactly 4 minutes and 27 seconds. The Korvac soldiers were skilled warriors, but they had never faced humans in combat. They were not prepared for the speed, coordination, and brutal efficiency of the human assault. Sarah's Marines moved through the station like a deadly machine. They knew the layout from intelligence reports. They knew where every Korvac soldier was stationed. They knew which systems to target to disable communications and weapons. General Vorthak barricaded himself in the command center and tried to send a warning to Korvac High Command. But the humans had already cut the communication arrays. Hissa. Messages went nowhere. The command center doors exploded inward. Human soldiers stormed through the smoking entrance. Vorthek drew his ceremonial sword and prepared to die with honor. He was a Korvac general. He would not surrender to these soft aliens. Sarah entered the command center last. She was not wearing armor like her Marines. She carried only a simple sidearm, but when Vorthak looked into her eyes, he saw something that made his warrior's heart freeze with terror. "You killed our children," Sarah said in perfect Korvac. "Now you die." Vorthek tried to charge her with his sword raised. Hi, Sarah shot him 3 times before he took a second step. She watched him fall, then turned to her Marines. "Download everything from their computers. Destroy what we cannot take. Leave nothing useful behind." The Marines worked with mechanical precision. They copied Korvac military codes, fleet positions, and supply schedules. They planted explosives throughout the station's critical systems. Within an hour, they were gone. Station 7 exploded 6 hours later when the charges detonated. The blast was visible from 3 star systems away. But by then, the human fleet had already moved to their next target. Similar attacks happened simultaneously across the entire Korvac border. Human strike teams materialized at mining colonies, research facilities, and military installations. They struck without warning and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. The Korvac Empire began to realize they were at war when 17 installations went silent in a single day. Emperor Grashk summoned his military council to the throne room on the homeworld. His generals arrived with confused expressions and incomplete reports. "What is the meaning of this?" Grashk roared. "How do we lose 17 positions without a single battle report?" Admiral Thexus, his senior military commander, studied the tactical displays with growing concern. "My Emperor, it appears the humans are using stealth technology we have never encountered. They strike at remote facilities and vanish before our forces can respond." "Impossible," Grashk declared. "Human technology is inferior to ours. They do not have advanced stealth capabilities." "With respect, my Emperor," Thexus said carefully, "perhaps our intelligence about human capabilities was incomplete." Grashk struck his advisor across the face with one massive claw. "Our intelligence is perfect. These attacks are the work of cowards who hide in the shadows. When they face our main fleet in open battle, they will be crushed." But the humans had no intention of fighting fair battles. They had studied Korvac military doctrine for decades. They knew the Korvac expected honorable combat between opposing fleets. They knew the Korvac believed in the superiority of direct confrontation. The humans did not care about honor or tradition. They cared about results. Admiral Webb coordinated the human offensive from his flagship deep in space. His tactical center had become a nerve center for dozens of simultaneous operations. Streams of information flowed in from across Korvac territory. As human forces systematically dismantled their enemy's infrastructure. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we have confirmation that all primary communication relays in sectors 7 through 12 have been destroyed. The Korvac home world cannot coordinate with their outer colonies." Webb nodded. "Phase 2 is complete. Begin Phase 3. The next wave of attacks targeted Korvac supply convoys and reinforcement fleets. Human ships that had been disguised as merchants revealed their true nature. Cargo vessels opened hidden weapons bays and unleashed devastating firepower on unsuspecting Korvac transports. Captain Elena Vasquez had spent 20 years commanding what appeared to be a medical supply ship. The Mercy carried humanitarian aid to disaster zones across the galaxy. Every alien species knew her vessel and trusted her mission. The Korvac convoy commander felt safe when the Mercy approached his fleet. Medical ships were neutral in all conflicts. They provided aid to anyone who needed it. He even considered asking for medical supplies for his crews. "This is Captain Vasquez of the medical vessel Mercy," Elena transmitted. "We have heard about the current hostilities. Do you require medical assistance?" The Korvac commander, Colonel Nexus, was touched by the offer. Even during war, some beings maintained their compassion. "Thank you, Captain Vasquez." We appreciate your neutrality in this matter, Elena smiled grimly. There's no neutrality when children are murdered. The Mercy's hull sections slid apart to reveal massive weapons arrays. The medical ship had been a warship all along, disguised so perfectly that no one had ever suspected its true purpose. Elena's first salvo destroyed 3 Korvac transports before they could even activate their shields. The convoy scattered in panic, but it was too late. Other human ships materialized around them, emerging from stealth or dropping their own disguises. The Korvac had walked into a perfectly planned ambush. All ships, Elena commanded. Remember the children of the New Hope, show them the same mercy they showed our young ones. The battle was a massacre. The Korvac fought bravely, but they were outgunned and surrounded. None of their ships escaped to report what had happened. The convoy simply vanished, along with its cargo of weapons and supplies destined for the front lines. Dr. Marcus Reed watched the battle from the Mercy's medical bay. He had joined Elena's crew because he believed in helping people. Now he was part of a war machine dedicated to extinction. The contradiction should have bothered him, but it did not. "Doctor," Elena asked him after the fighting ended, "do you regret what we are doing?" Reed looked at the tactical display showing the destroyed Korvac ships. "Captain, I took an oath to preserve life. But some lives are not worth preserving. The Korvac chose to murder children. They forfeited their right to exist. Across Korvac space, the pattern repeated. Human forces struck at military targets, supply lines, and communication networks with coordinated precision. They did not seek to conquer territory or capture prisoners. They sought to systematically destroy everything that allowed the Korvac Empire to function. Emperor Grashk finally understood the scope of the threat when half his Ambassador Cathara stood in the emergency session of the Galactic Council, watching reports flood in from Korvac space. In just 2 weeks, the humans had destroyed over 60% of the Korvac Empire's military infrastructure. Entire fleets had vanished without sending distress signals. Colonies had gone silent overnight. The systematic destruction was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. "This cannot continue," declared Senator Vexani of the Phylorian Republic. Her people were warriors who respected military prowess, but what the humans were doing terrified even them. "The humans have lost all sense of proportion. They are not seeking victory. They are seeking genocide." Councillor Zephys from the Andorian Federation nodded in agreement. "We must intervene before this spreads beyond Korvac space. If the humans continue this rampage, they will destabilize the entire galactic order." Ambassador Cathara felt sick to her stomach. She had warned these very beings about what would happen if anyone harmed human children. Now they acted surprised that her warnings had been accurate. "The humans are responding exactly as I told you they would," she said quietly. "The Korvac murdered their children. This is the price of that choice." "Unacceptable," Senator Vexani snapped. "The death of 2,000 humans, even children, does not justify the extinction of an entire species. The humans have become the greater threat to galactic peace." Chancellor Morvik of the Zentari Alliance rose from his seat. His people controlled the largest trade networks in the galaxy. War was bad for business, and the human campaign was disrupting commerce across dozens of sectors. "The economic impact alone demands action," Morvik stated. "Human forces are attacking any ship that might be carrying supplies to Korvac territory. They have declared entire trade routes off limits. Our merchants are afraid to travel through half the galaxy. Because those merchants might be helping the people who murdered our children." Came a voice from the gallery. Everyone turned to see Human Ambassador David Chun sitting in the observation section. He was not supposed to speak during emergency sessions, but no one had the courage to silence him. The humans had become too dangerous to anger further. "Ambassador Chun," Cathara said carefully, "your people were not invited to participate in this discussion." David stood slowly. He was a small man who had always seemed gentle and reasonable during diplomatic meetings. But today his eyes held the same cold fury that was driving human fleets across the galaxy. "My people are not participating in this discussion," David said. We are simply observing while you decide how to help the murderers of our children. That is not what we are doing, Chancellor Morvick protested. We are trying to restore balance to the galaxy. David laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. Balance? The Korvac Empire murdered nearly 2,000 children, and you call their destruction unbalanced? What would balance look like to you, Chancellor? A firm reprimand? Economic sanctions? The silence that followed was deafening. Every being in the chamber knew that no punishment short of extinction would satisfy human rage. But they also knew that allowing the humans to continue would set a precedent that terrified them all. Senator Vexani spoke into the silence. The humans have made their point. They have crippled the Korvac Empire. Surely that is sufficient revenge for their losses. David's expression became stone. Sufficient? Senator, let me explain something about human psychology. When someone murders our children, we do not seek sufficient revenge. We seek to ensure it never happens again. The only way to guarantee that the Korvac will never murder human children is to make sure there are no Korvac left to commit such acts. The brutal honesty of his statement sent chills through the assembled delegates. This was not the passionate anger they understood. This was cold, calculated policy. You cannot be serious, Councillor Zephyr stammered. You are talking about genocide. I am talking about pest control, David replied. The Korvac have proven. They are vermin that prey on the young. Vermin are exterminated, not negotiated with. High Councillor Thranks of the Vegan Confederacy had remained silent throughout the debate, but now he stood. His people were among the oldest in the galaxy, and their words carried weight with all species. Ambassador Shun, Thranks said with ancient dignity, your people's pain is understandable, but you ask us to stand by while you commit atrocities that will echo through history. We cannot allow this precedent to be set. David turned to face the High Councillor directly. With respect, Councillor Thranks, you will not allow it? Are you planning to stop us? The threat in his words was clear. The humans had demonstrated their military capabilities against the Korvac. Every species in the chamber was calculating whether they could survive similar treatment. We hope it will not come to that, Thranks said carefully. But the Galactic Council has a responsibility to maintain peace and stability. If necessary, we will act to restore balance. David smiled, and the expression was more terrifying than any threat could have been. Please do, High Councillor. My people would welcome the opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities to a wider audience. He turned and walked toward the exit, then paused at the door. You have 48 hours to reach whatever decision you feel is appropriate. After that, the last Korvac will be dead, and human attention will turn to other matters. The chamber door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a death sentence. For several minutes, no one spoke. The implications of David's words hung heavy in the air. The humans were not just threatening the Korvac anymore. They were challenging the entire galactic order. Finally, Senator Vexani broke the silence. We cannot allow this to continue. The humans have become drunk on their own power. They must be stopped before they decide other species deserve extinction. But how? Asked Chancellor Morvick. Their military capabilities are far beyond what we believe possible. Open confrontation would be suicide for any single species. High Councillor Thranks stroked his chin thoughtfully. What if it were not open confrontation? What if the Korvac suddenly acquired the means to defend themselves? More effectively, Ambassador Cathara felt her blood freeze. You cannot be considering what I think you are considering. The humans have superior technology, Thranks continued, but they are still outnumbered. If the Korvac had access to advanced weapons and defensive systems, they might be able to halt the human advance. You want to arm the Korvac? Cathara's voice rose in disbelief. You want to help the people who murdered human children? We want to restore balance, Senator Vexani said firmly. The humans have proven they cannot be trusted with unchecked power. They must be reminded that they are not the only force in this galaxy. Councillor Zephyr nodded enthusiastically. The Andorian Federation has quantum destabilizers that could penetrate human shields. If we provided those weapons to the Korvac, along with temporal displacement technology, they could turn the tide of this war. And what happens, Cathara? Asked quietly, when the humans discover that we have been supplying weapons to the murderers of their children? What happens when they learn that the Galactic Council chose to side with child killers against the victims of those crimes? The chamber fell silent again. Everyone knew the answer to her question, but no one wanted to voice it. High Counselor Thranks finally spoke. The humans will never know. This operation will be conducted in absolute secrecy. The weapons will be delivered through intermediaries. The Korvac will be told the technology came from their own research programs. You are making a mistake. That will destroy us all, Cathara warned. The humans trusted us. They believed we were their friends. When they discover this betrayal, their rage will make what they are doing to the Korvac look like a minor disagreement. If we do nothing, Chancellor Morvik argued, the humans will finish exterminating the Korvac and then turn their attention to reshaping the galaxy according to their preferences. They have already demonstrated contempt for galactic law and diplomatic process. How long before they decide other species are threats to human children? Senator Vexani stood and addressed the assembly. All those in favor of providing covert military assistance to the Korvac Empire, please indicate your support. Hands, claws, tentacles, and other appendages rose throughout the chamber. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 27. Species chose to arm the Korvac against humanity. Ambassador Cathara remained seated, her hands folded in her lap. I will not be part of this madness. When the humans learn what you have done, remember that I warned you. Your objection is, noted, High Counselor Thranks said coldly. But the decision has been made. Within 72 hours, advanced weapons will begin flowing to Korvac forces. The human advance will be stopped. As the emergency session disbanded, representatives hurried away to begin implementing their secret plan. They convinced themselves they were saving the galaxy from human aggression. They told themselves they were restoring balance to galactic politics. But Ambassador Cathara sat alone in the empty chamber, staring at the tactical displays that showed human forces systematically dismantling the Korvac Empire. She thought about the fury she had seen in David Chun's eyes. She thought about the clinical precision with which human forces were conducting their campaign of extermination. Admiral Marcus Webb stared at the intelligence report for a full minute without speaking. The bridge of his flagship remained silent as his officers waited for his response. The document contained detailed analysis of alien weapon signatures detected in recent Korvac attacks, Andorian quantum destabilizers, vegan temporal displacement fields, Thylorian shield harmonics. The evidence was undeniable. The Galactic Council was secretly arming the Korvac Empire. How long have we been monitoring these transmissions? Webb asked his intelligence chief. 72 hours, sir, Commander. Torres replied. We have tracked 17 separate weapon shipments from Council worlds to Korvac territory. The deliveries are being coordinated through intermediary species to hide the source. Webb felt something cold settle in his chest. For 3 centuries, humanity had trusted the Galactic Council. They had considered many Council species to be friends and allies. They had shared technology, traded freely, and worked together to maintain peace. Now those same allies were arming the murderers of human children. Sir, his communication officer interrupted, we are receiving a priority transmission from Intelligence Station Alpha. They report intercepted communications between Council representatives discussing the covert operation. Put it through the speakers, Webb commanded. The recording was crystal clear. Voices of Council members discussing weapon deliveries, debating whether the Korvac could be trusted with advanced technology and calculating how long it would take to restore balance to the conflict. Senator Vexani's voice was unmistakable. The humans must be reminded that they are not the dominant force in this galaxy. Their arrogance has grown beyond acceptable limits. High Counselor Thranks responded, once the Korvac halt their advance, we can negotiate a settlement that restores proper order. The humans will learn to respect council authority. Webb turned off the recording. Around the bridge, his officers stared at their displays with expressions of cold fury. The betrayal was complete and undeniable. Orders, sir? Hissa. First officer asked. Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute finality. Signal all human forces. Operation Reckoning is now active. Full strategic deployment, no restrictions? Sir, Commander Torres said carefully, Operation Reckoning includes targeting. Council worlds, are you certain? Webb looked at him with eyes that had become as hard as space itself. Commander, the Galactic Council has chosen to arm child murderers against us. They have decided that human lives have no value. They will learn the cost of that decision. Within hours, the coded transmissions went out to every human ship, station, and colony in the galaxy. Operation Reckoning was the plan humanity had hoped never to use. It was their response to total galactic war. Captain Sarah Chung received the orders while her ship was hunting Korvac convoys near their home system. She read the transmission twice to make sure she understood correctly, then called her senior officers to the briefing room. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we have just learned that the Galactic Council is secretly providing weapons to the Korvac Empire. This means our supposed allies have chosen to support the murderers of our children. The room erupted in angry voices. Her weapons officer slammed his fist on the table. Her chief engineer cursed in 3 different languages. Her first officer simply sat in stunned silence. What are our orders? The weapons officer demanded. Sarah activated the tactical display. It showed not just Korvac territory but the entire galaxy. Red indicators marked every world that belonged to species that had voted to arm the Korvac. We are going to teach the galaxy the meaning of consequences, Sarah said. Every species that chose to help child murderers will face the same fate as the Korvac Empire. Dr. Elena Vasquez received similar orders aboard her medical ship. For a moment, she considered the irony of using a vessel dedicated to preserving life to destroy civilizations. But when she thought about the Council's betrayal, her resolve hardened. All hands, she announced over the ship's communication system. We have new targets. The beings we thought were our friends have been arming our enemies. Today we learn who humanity's real allies are. Across human space, fleets that had been moving toward Korvac territory suddenly changed course. Some headed for Andorian space. Others set course for vegan worlds. The largest force moved toward the council chambers themselves. The transformation was visible even to civilian observers. Human ships that had looked like cargo vessels and passenger transports revealed their true nature. Weapons emerged from hidden compartments. Armor plating slid into place. Engine signatures changed as military-grade power systems came online. Ambassador David Chin was in his quarters at the embassy when the orders reached him. He read the intelligence report about council betrayal with a mixture of rage and bitter satisfaction. He had warned them what would happen if they opposed humanity. They had chosen not to listen. He activated his emergency communicator and sent a single message. To Admiral Webb, all diplomatic personnel are clear of council space. You are authorized to proceed. Then he gathered his staff and walked to the embassy's communications center. It was time to deliver humanity's final diplomatic message to the galaxy. The broadcast went out on all frequencies to every inhabited world in known space. David's face appeared on billions of screens as beings across the galaxy stopped their daily activities to listen. Citizens of the galaxy, David began, his voice calm and controlled. Today humanity learned that the Galactic Council has been secretly providing weapons to the Korvac Empire. The same council members who expressed sympathy for our murdered children have been arming their killers. He paused to let that information sink in. On countless worlds, beings stared at their screens in shock and growing fear. For 300 years, humanity has participated peacefully in galactic civilization. We have traded freely, shared our knowledge, and honored our agreements. We believed in friendship between species. We believed in the principles of the Galactic Council. David's expression hardened. Today we learned that friendship means nothing when tested by crisis. We learned that the Council's principles are worthless when they conflict with political convenience. We learned that our so-called allies will arm child murderers rather than support justice. The transmission switched to tactical displays showing human fleets moving throughout the galaxy. The scope of the deployment was staggering. Thousands of ships heading toward dozens of different star systems. The species that voted to arm the Korvac have chosen their fate, David continued. They will share the same destiny as the child murderers they chose to support. This is not revenge. This is education. The galaxy will learn what happens when someone helps the enemies of human children. Back on the Council world, emergency. Sessions convened as the reports of human fleet movements reached terrified governments. Senator Vexani burst into High Counselor Thranx's office without waiting for permission. "The humans know," she gasped. "They know about the weapon shipments. Their fleets are heading for our worlds." Thranx remained calm, though his hands shook slightly as he reviewed the tactical reports. "How many ships are they deploying?" "All of them," Vexani replied. "Every human vessel in the galaxy is moving toward Council space. They are not just targeting military installations. They are heading for our homeworlds." For the first time since the crisis began, Thranx felt genuine fear. The humans were not planning surgical strikes or limited retaliation. They were preparing to do to Council species what they had done to the Korvac. "Can we negotiate?" he asked. Vexani laughed bitterly. "With what leverage?" "We armed their enemies. We betrayed their trust. We chose to support child murderers. What could we possibly offer them that would matter now?" The answer came sooner than expected. David Cheen's broadcast resumed with humanity's final terms. "To the species that betrayed us," David said, "you have one choice remaining. Unconditional surrender? Your governments will be dissolved. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your worlds will be administered by human authorities until we determine you are no longer a threat to galactic peace." He leaned forward, staring directly into the camera. "Or you can resist, and we will do to you exactly what we are doing to the Korvac. We will erase you from existence so completely that future generations will wonder if you ever existed at all." The transmission ended with a countdown timer. Council species had 24 hours to decide across the galaxy. Panic spread through government centers and military commands. Some species immediately began broadcasting surrender messages. Others tried to organize defensive alliances. Few attempted to flee to unexplored regions of space, but the humans had prepared for every possibility. Their intelligence networks had mapped every hiding place, every alliance, every escape route. There would be no sanctuary for those who had betrayed them. Admiral Webb watched the responses from his command center. Most Council species were choosing surrender over extinction. A few were preparing to fight. It did not matter which option they chose, the outcome would be the same. "Sir," his communication officer reported, "we are receiving surrender transmissions from the Andorian Federation, the Zentari Alliance, and 12 other Council species." "Accepted," Webb replied. "Deploy occupation forces to their home."